Good evening one and all. I welcome you all to Ganesh IAS Academy. In today's session, we'll be seeing science and technology based current affairs from the date June 12th to June 17th, 2023. Let us see one by one. Just a minute. Yeah. The first news article that we are going to discuss today is Alkaline seawater electrolyzer to generate hydrogen. So what are they going to generate here? They are going to generate hydrogen. And what are they using? Electrolyzer. So the process here is electrolysis. We'll understand what is electrolysis and all the details one by one. So what is the news? Recently, researchers from IIT Madras have developed alkaline seawater electrolyzer to generate hydrogen, addressing the challenges related to existing water electrolyzer technology. So at present there is a water electrolyzer technology and it has certain drawbacks and challenges. It has to be solved. For that they have developed and they have invented a new electrolyzer which is seawater based. And they are also going to change the equipment also. So let us understand what is the drawbacks and then what is the new equipment is all about. The alkaline water electrolyzer technology is energy intensive. The present one, this is the present one. The current one, it is energy intensive, which means it consumes a lot of energy. So that is a challenge because we need energy efficient equipments, not energy intensive equipments. First thing. Next is it requires an expensive oxide polymer separator. Typically in an electrolysis process, that is in electrolyzer, we have cathode, anode, that is electrodes, and then we have an electrolyte and we also have a separator, which separates hydroxide ions. We will study all that in detail. We will study the basics, the science behind it. But here, this separator that is used is expensive, The conventional one is expensive. Next is use of fresh water for electrolysis. Generally, for electrolysis, we are going for fresh water, So these days, even availability of fresh water has become a concern, It is not available in huge quantity. So what they are going for, they have chosen seawater, Instead of fresh water, we are going for seawater. So these are the advancement that has been made from this invention. So this invention has addressed each of these challenges by developing simple, scalable and cost-effective alternatives to all of these that are highly efficient in splitting the water and generating hydrogen. So they are going to split water and generate hydrogen. Typically, this is the electrolyzer, alkaline electrolyzer. Let us understand this term first, electrolysis. Electrolysis or electrolysis. What is electrolysis? This is a compound of two words, that is electrolysis. Electro means using electricity, and lysis. Anywhere you see this word lysis, it means there is an involvement of breakage in bond. So what is the bond that is going to get broken here? It is the hydrogen and oxygen bond. H2O, right? So these bonds are going to get broken. H2O, and these bonds are going to get broken, and that is called as lysis. Lysis means to cut, to separate. So what is the reaction that is going to happen in an electrolyzer? Let us understand that first. We have an electrolyte solution, and in that we have alkaline water solution. Next is we have an anode, cathode. Anode is positively charged and cathode is negatively charged. These are together called as electrodes. And then we have a separator. This portion is called as the separator. This is what is expensive in the conventional electrolyzer. We are going to see an alternative to it, and then they are supplied to electricity. And what is the reaction that is happening at the cathode? At the negative electrode, what is the reaction that is happening? Two water molecules in reaction with two electrons is giving you hydrogen and two hydroxide ion. So water splits into hydrogen ion and then hydroxide ion. this hydrogen ion is further becoming hydrogen while the hydroxide passes through the separator. This hydroxide that is produced is passing through the separator and then reaching the anode side, and in the anode side what is the reaction that is happening? The hydroxide ion is giving rise to half oxygen atom and then one water atom and then one water molecule, and then you also have 2 electrons that is produced. Okay, so this is the overall reaction. 2 electron consumed and then 2 electron is released from this reaction. So it is a balanced reaction. So these are the reactions that is happening. So this is how we are producing hydrogen, and in this process oxygen is also produced. Okay, so this is the base, and they are using alkaline solution, that is sodium hydroxide or potassium hydroxide solution for this reaction, that is acting as an electrolyte. So this is the conventional one. What are the invention that has been made? What is the new thing that we have to focus on? The key features of the new invention that has been found by IIT Madras, that is they are going for carbon based support catalyst. Generally when we use normal water, that is fresh water, then there is nothing like hypochlorite formation, but when we are going for seawater, then at the anode where the oxygen is getting produced, there hypochlorite is produced, because here what we are using, seawater contains many salts, especially sodium chloride salt. Here this chlorine gives rise to hypochlorite formation, and this hypochlorite will hinder the production of oxygen, and it will also lead to corrosion of the electrode, that is anode and cathode both. Okay, it will lead to corrosion. Okay, so hypochlorite formation is not a good thing. Next is at the cathode there is accumulation of impurities, again a drawback when we are going for seawater as an electrolyte. Okay, so this will slow down the hydrogen production, which is our main thing. Okay, it must not be hindered anyway. Okay, so what is a solution that has been provided by this invention? That is, instead of using metals as electrodes, they are going to go for carbon based material. Okay, so the electrode is going to become carbon based material. Both anode and cathode are going to be carbon based material, and in addition to that they are also coating it with a catalyst. Okay, generally what is the role of a catalyst? It will alter the rate of the reaction, enhance the rate of the reaction. So here the production of hydrogen and production of oxygen, this reaction is going to get enhanced using this catalyst. So the catalyst enables improved production of hydrogen and oxygen simultaneously in this reaction. So what is the first change that they are making? They are going for carbon based material instead of metals that has been used conventionally. This is the first change. Okay, and they are also using seawater, that is the main thing. Next is cellulose based separator. We already saw that the separator is expensive. Okay, conventionally what is the separator that is used? We are using expensive zirconium oxide based material, which is expensive, which is used as a separator. Both the separator which separates cathode and anode, okay, in alkaline electrolysis. But then now we are going for something called cellulose based separator. These cellulose based separator are comparatively less expensive than zirconium oxide based separators, first thing. And then this separator also allows easy movement of hydroxide ions from the cathode to the anode, because at the cathode only hydrogen and hydroxide ion is formed, and then this hydroxide ion has to be carried to the anode side where it will give rise to a reaction which forms oxygen. Okay, so these ions pass to form, the separator allows hydroxide ions to pass from the cathode to the anode while minimizing the crossover of hydrogen and oxygen. This is also important. It must only allow hydroxide ions to pass through and not hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen has to be separated from that. Okay, for that also this cellulose based reactor is being very useful. Then this separator is highly resistant to degradation, very important. Okay, even when we are going to use even when you are going to use seawater as an electrolyte, even there it is highly resistant to degradation, which is important. Next thing is, why are we going for hydrogen production. Why is hydrogen production given importance? And especially here, green hydrogen we are talking about. I said we are using electric energy for this process, for that lysis process, that is cutting of the bond between hydrogen and oxygen. When the electricity that has been used is from a renewable source, then that becomes green hydrogen production. So if the electricity produced or if the electricity used is from renewable source, then it becomes green hydrogen. Okay, that is why it is green, because renewable energy source is used. Such points are important. Okay, why are we going for green hydrogen production? The first point is it reduces greenhouse gas emission. Okay, it emits no greenhouse gases at all. Okay, so that it is making the entire process eco-friendly and sustainable energy option. This one is a sustainable energy option. Next is energy security and independence. At present, we are more dependent on fossil fuels, and then we are also importing it from other countries. Okay, so each and every day the fossil fuel prices will be fluctuating. Okay, so such a thing will be a big problem for a developing country. Okay, if the price rise is fluctuating each and every day, then that will be a problem. So when we go for green hydrogen production, which is indigenously produced using indigenous technology, then we may overcome such problems. Okay, so we are going for energy security within our country, and then we are also being independent. That is, we are not dependent on fossil fuel from other countries. That is the point. Next is decarbonizing difficult to decarbonize sector. There are certain sectors like heavy industry sectors and aviation sectors which are categorized as difficult to decarbonize sector, which means we cannot decarbonize such industries at all. Okay, such industries can also be decarbonized when we are going for green hydrogen. When the fuel used is going to become green hydrogen, then such industries can also be decarbonized. This is a point. Next is technological advancement. When we shift from one fuel to another fuel, so far we have been using fossil fuels, but then now we are going to go for green hydrogen as a fuel, which is a renewable fuel. Okay, so when we go for new fuel, then obviously there will be technological advancements, because the same equipments we can't be using. We must use new equipments and other features. So thus it will also drive innovation in various fields. Okay, so this is also important. So when a question is asked in mains examination regarding green hydrogen, you can elaborate these points and write. It will be very useful. Okay, next let us consider a few questions that have been asked in the recent prelims examination, which is based on green hydrogen. Okay, consider the following heavy industries: fertilizer plants, oil refineries, steel plants. Green hydrogen is expected to play a significant role in decarbonizing how many of the above industries? All the three industries actually. Okay, all the three industries uses fossil fuels, and then when green hydrogen is going to replace that fossil fuel, obviously it will lead to decarbonizing that sector, that particular sector. So the answer for this question is all three. A simple question actually. Next, with reference to green hydrogen, consider the following statement. This is again a question which has been asked in the recent prelims examination. It can be used directly as a fuel for internal combustion. It can be blended with natural gas and used as a fuel for heat or power generation. It can be used in hydrogen fuel cell to run vehicles. Actually, all the three statements are right. Okay, so all three is the answer for this. So why have I given this question here? Just to show the importance of green hydrogen as a topic. Okay, so even in your upcoming mains examination, you must have to give importance to this particular topic, green hydrogen. Okay, the next news article that we are going to see today is performance based navigation for helicopters. Performance based navigation for helicopters. So what is the news that we'll understand? India achieved a significant milestone in aviation sector by conducting Asia's first demonstration of performance based navigation for helicopters. So since it is Asia's first, it is important. Okay, Asia's first demonstration of performance based navigation of helicopters. What is this performance based navigation that we have to understand, and how is it achieved? How have they made this demonstration? They use something called as Gagan satellite technology. So we must have to understand what is Gagan satellite technology and where have they conducted this demonstration. It is from Juhu in Mumbai to Pune. Okay, between those two areas they have performed this performance based navigation. So first let us understand what is performance based navigation. Generally when a flight is flying, they get signals from the ground stations. But in such performance based navigation, they get signals from the satellite directly. So satellite sends the signal and then the navigation system will be on board, which means it will be on the flight. Okay, so that is the basic difference between the conventional one and the performance based navigation. Okay, so the performance based navigation system is a modern concept of air navigation that allows aircraft to fly accurately along a predefined path. Okay, there will be a predefined route and they will be accurately traveling in that route using what? Onboard navigation system. This is very important. Okay, they use onboard navigation system and satellite signal. Okay, not ground station based signal but satellite signal. That is important, and it improves safety, efficiency and capacity obviously of traffic management, air traffic management, and it also reduces the reliance on ground based navigation aids. Okay, so we are no more going to depend on the ground station for signals. Okay, and allowing more flexible flight paths. Okay, so that is performance based navigation. Oh, okay, the basic difference you must have to understand. Next is they are using what? Gagan satellite technology. So what is Gagan satellite technology? This Gagan is itself a abbreviated term. Okay, you should not confuse this with Gaganyaan. Gaganyaan is different. Okay, Gaganyaan is human space flight of India. Okay, but this is Gagan. Gagan is an abbreviated term which is GPS aided geo augmented navigation. GPS aided geo augmented navigation. So which navigation system that they are going to use? They are going to use global positioning system of USA. It is not India's. India's navigation system, regional navigation system is called NAVIC. We all know that. IRNSS. It is also called IRNSS, Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System. Okay, this GPS is US aided geo augmented navigation, that is Gagan. So it is a space based augmentation system. Yes, which means it gets signal from satellites. Yes, it is a satellite technology and it is jointly developed by which of the two organizations? First one is ISRO and then the second one is AAI, that is Airports Authority of India and Indian Space Research Organization. These are the two agencies, organizations that has jointly developed this Gagan. Okay, so what are the features of Gagan? The first thing is it is more efficient in traffic management. Okay, improving the precision of aircraft location. Okay, it will show a precise location for the aircraft. First thing. Next is it enhances accuracy and integrity of GPS signals. Yes, this is an added advantage by correcting errors caused by atmospheric disturbances. Okay, there may be atmospheric disturbances caused due to many events like clouds and cyclones and other things. Okay, such disturbances can be avoided. Okay, when we rely on ground based signals, okay, ground station based signal, then obviously such difficulties has to be faced. But when we go for Gagan, such difficulties can be overcome. So atmospheric disturbances, clock drifts and orbital deviations all can be overcome. Next is it helps aircraft or helicopters with guided landing. Okay, guided landing at airports that do not have instrument landing system. If there is an airport which does not have instrument landing system, then here using Gagan they can go for guided landing at the airport. Okay, for low visibility operations also they are used. So these are the features of Gagan. What are the benefits of Gagan? Enhanced safety, obviously. Yes, Gagan reduces the risk of human errors. There are chances for human errors, right? But when we go for satellite signals, such error can be avoided. Okay, because we have onboard navigation system. And then we can also avoid collision terrain strikes and also controlled flight into terrain accidents. Actually, we lost our first Chief of Defence Staff, that is Mr. Bipin Rawat, in one such accident. Okay, so that is a worrying fact, right? So when we have such a technology, we could avoid such accidents in future. It also improves situational awareness and emergency response. Yes, the point that has been discussed. Emergency response capabilities for pilots and air traffic controllers. Next, improved efficiency. How is it going to improve efficiency? They are going to enable more efficient use of airspace and also fuel. Okay, thus it results in lower emissions and operational cost. Okay, when we go for lesser fuel, then operational cost is also less, and there will also be lower emission, lesser emissions. So these are the benefits of Gagan. And it also increases capacity. How is it going to increase capacity? Let us understand. By increasing the number of flights. How? It enhances the capacity and connectivity to the aviation network. Okay, it enables access to remote and underserved areas. Okay, those areas which has not been served with flight connectivity can be served using this Gagan technology. Okay, and in addition, yes, this point is also important. It not only benefits aviation sector, but in future it will also benefit maritime, highways and railroads. Okay, so all this is important with respect to Gagan. Question may be asked on this. Let us understand why the satellite navigation system is important, because questions have been asked in the past based on satellite navigation system. Even in 2023, this year, a question was asked, which of the following countries has its own satellite navigation system? The answer to this is Japan. Okay, actually US, Russia, China, and then European Union. Okay, all of them have global satellite navigation system. Global satellite navigation system. And Japan and India, Japan along with India, they both have regional satellite navigation system. So this is important. US, Russia, China and European Union have global navigation system, and Japan and India have regional navigation system. So the question is not specific about whether it is regional or global. They have generally asked which of the following country has its own satellite navigation system. Of these countries, only Japan have. Okay, Japan is the answer for this question. Next question based on satellite navigation system. With reference to Indian regional navigation satellite system, IRNSS, which I mentioned, consider the following statements. IRNSS has 3 satellites in geostationary and 4 satellites in geosynchronous orbits. Yes, it is a correct statement. Okay. Next, IRNSS covers entire India and about 5,500 square kilometer beyond its border. No, this is not a correct statement because it is 1,500. Okay, 1,500 square kilometer beyond. Okay, it will cover India and a region 1,500 beyond our borders. Next, India will have its own satellite navigation system with full global coverage by middle of 2019. So just before I said it is not a global coverage for India, I mean Indian satellite navigation system, it is regional coverage. That is why it is called Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System. It is also called as NAVIC. Okay, NAVIC, that is navigation through Indian constellation. Okay, so the answer for this would be 1 only, because these two statements are wrong. 1,500 kilometer, and then here it is not global coverage but regional coverage. So a question based on navigation system is also important. Okay, so the next topic that we are going to see for today is pre-diabetes. Okay, let us understand one by one what is pre-diabetes and what is the background. According to a study funded by ICMR, that is Indian Council of Medical Research, 1 in 5 healthy individuals has glucose metabolism of a pre-diabetic. Pre-diabetic is a person who is about to get diabetic in near future, say in 5 years or 6 years. Okay, those are pre-diabetics. Okay, so what they are saying, 1 in 5 healthy person, which means 20 percentage of healthy people are having glucose metabolism which is of a pre-diabetic, okay, which means this 20% people are likely to become diabetic in the near future, okay. So that is the research that has been made, and what have they suggested and what have they recommended, we'll see. The researchers use something called as continuous glucose monitors. Why are they using it? To detect pre-diabetes, okay. So what does this continuous glucose monitor do? It will automatically track blood glucose levels throughout the day and night, okay. Every time it will be calculating the glucose level of the blood, and with this we can take informed decisions about the balanced food that we have to take, physical activities that we have to do, or the medicines that we can do, we can take to control blood sugar level, okay. So what is that they are using? Continuous glucose monitors. Using that only they are going to detect pre-diabetes. So let us understand the background, what is diabetes and other things, okay. Diabetes is a non-communicable disease. Yes, we all know that. That occurs at two situations, okay. The first situation is when the pancreas does not produce enough insulin. That is the first situation. Next situation is when the body cannot effectively use the insulin that has been produced, okay. So pancreas is the organ or a gland which is producing this insulin hormone, which is a hormone which regulates blood sugar levels in our body, okay. So this pancreas is actually both exocrine and endocrine gland, okay. That is the unique feature of pancreas. When it performs exocrine functions, then it will release certain substances which will aid in digestion process, and when it is going to perform endocrine function, at that time it will be producing insulin, the hormone which regulates blood sugar level. So pancreas is unique because it performs both exocrine and endocrine functions. Very important point, okay. So the first point here is when the pancreas does not produce enough insulin, okay, or it does not produce insulin at all. That is the first type. Next type is when it produces insulin but then the body is not utilizing it properly or effectively. That is the second situation, and we have different types of diabetes based on that. That is type 1, type 2 and gestational diabetes. We'll understand one by one. Type 1. What is type 1? Type 1 is also called as juvenile diabetes, okay. Because why the term juvenile? Juvenile means young people, right? So since it is affecting children of the age group this, that is 14 to 16, it is called as juvenile diabetes, and it occurs when the pancreas makes little or no insulin. That is the first case, okay. Although the prevalence of type 1 is less, its severity is more than type 2 diabetes, okay. This must be kept in mind. Next is in type 2, it affects the way the body uses insulin. Here insulin is produced sufficiently, but here insulin is not produced sufficiently or not produced at all, okay. Here insulin is produced, okay, but the body is not making use of it properly, okay. That becomes type 2 diabetes, okay. This can occur at any stage. Here it will occur at that age group people, okay, occur among that age group people, that is 14 to 16, but here it can occur at any age, and even during childhood this can happen, but mostly who are getting affected? Middle-aged people and old people are getting affected by type 2 diabetes. And there is another group called gestational diabetes. What is gestational diabetes? Another type, okay. What is gestational diabetes? When a woman is pregnant, at that time she will face something called as gestational diabetes, because at those times the body will become little insensitive to insulin, okay, so that it may not use the insulin that has been produced properly, so it causes diabetes. So soon after they give birth to the child, this will be gone, okay. So this is for a short period only, and not every woman will be affected by gestational diabetes. That is also important, okay. So it does not occur in all women, and usually it resolves after giving birth. Very important. What are the impacts of diabetes, okay. what is it going to affect? It affects 5 major organs of our body. What are they? Kidney, heart, blood vessels, nervous system and eye, especially the retina part of the eye. And what are the factors responsible for diabetes? We obviously know: unhealthy diet, lack of physical activity, harmful use of alcohol, overweight or obesity, and also tobacco use. Okay, all unhealthy activities that we do is causing diabetes. These are all basic things. Now we are going to the key highlights of the study that has been made by ICMR regarding pre-diabetics. Okay, what is the prevalence? 101 million people in India have diabetes. Okay, all these facts are important. You can use such facts in your answer writing for mains. Okay, 101 million people, that is 11.4% of Indian population have diabetes, and then 136 million, that is 15.3% of Indian population have pre-diabetes. Okay, this is a worrying fact. And there is no rural or urban divide. This is also important, because when we talk about certain diseases, then there will be rural and urban divide. Okay, because of the lifestyle that they are following in urban areas, there may be more prevalence of certain diseases in urban areas. Okay, but here when it comes to pre-diabetes, it is not so. It is equally prevalent in rural areas and urban areas. That is important. Next is, pre-diabetes levels were found to be higher in states where the current prevalence of diabetes was low. At present, there are certain states in our country where the diabetes levels are low among people. Okay, in those states there is high prevalence of pre-diabetes, which means in near future they will become diabetic. Okay, and what is the conversion rate? This is important. The conversion rate is more than 60% people with pre-diabetes are likely to get converted to diabetic. Okay, in the next 5 years. This is important. The conversion rate is important. Statements based on this may be asked. Okay, and what are the recommendations that has been provided from this study? The first recommendation is tracking pre-diabetes. How are they going to track it? They are going to use something called oral glucose tolerance test. We'll understand this first. Before that, we have something called impaired glucose homeostasis. Okay, the study suggests the existence of a stage which is before pre-diabetes. Okay, so the first stage would be impaired glucose homeostasis, and the second stage is pre-diabetes, and in future it will become diabetes. Okay, so the 3 stages you must have to understand. The first stage is impaired glucose homeostasis, second stage is pre-diabetes, and the final stage is diabetes. And in that, either type 1, type 2, or occasionally for women, gestational diabetes will occur. Now we have to understand what is this impaired glucose homeostasis. Homeostasis, this word is very important. Okay, even with respect to your prelims, this word becomes important. What is homeostasis? Homeostasis is self-regulating behavior of human body. Okay, human body performs certain self-regulating behaviors. The best example for this would be when we go out in sun. Okay, when we go out in hot sun, we sweat, right? That is because the body is self-regulating the heat of the body. Okay, when we go out in hot sun, our body is getting heated, the surface is getting heated. So to nullify it or to reduce the heat, the sweat glands are activated. So this is how the body goes for self-regulation. This is just one example. Likewise, throughout our body there are many functions which are self-regulating, and even the glucose levels are self-regulated. When we are going to take too much of glucose intake, for example, daily we are eating rice, carbohydrates, it will get converted into glucose. Okay, so when we are eating too much of glucose, then it will be self-regulated, which means it will be stored, and whenever we are deprived of it, then that stored glucose will be utilized. This is the self-regulating process. But then what they are saying here is impaired glucose homeostasis, which means glucose self-regulates, but then that process is impaired here. Okay, so impairment of glucose self-regulation is called as impaired glucose homeostasis. That is the first stage, and later people become pre-diabetic and then they become diabetic. Okay, the stage you must have to understand. And what is the test that they are going to take? Oral glucose tolerance test. What is oral glucose tolerance test? Generally when we go for glucose test in any hospital, they'll ask you to come empty stomach first. Okay, they'll take a syringe full of blood, and then after eating, 2 hours after eating, they'll ask you to come, and then they'll take yet another syringe of blood. Okay, so this process is called as the oral glucose tolerance test. So that is the test that is taken. So it measures how the body handles glucose after a meal. Okay, that is measured, and it helps to diagnose both prediabetes and diabetes. This chart is also important, blood glucose chart. Okay, 3 conditions, that is normal condition, pre-diabetic condition and diabetic condition. What are the ranges? Fasting values and 2-hour value. I mean 2-hour after the meal, okay, post fasting value. Okay, if it is less than 100 and less than 140, less than 100 while fasting and less than 140 after 2 hours of meal, then that is normal. If it is 100 to 125 and 140 to 199, here it becomes pre-diabetic, and if it is more than 126 even before, I mean even in fasting, and more than 200 after 2 hours of meal, then they are classified as diabetic. So this may be important for your general awareness, may be important from your exam point also. Next, so this is it with that topic, that is pre-diabetes topic. Okay, next topic that we are going to see today is for all humanity, the future of outer space governance. Okay, what is this? For all humanity, the future of outer space governance. It is actually a policy brief which has been released by United Nations. Okay, what is its title? For all humanity, the future of outer space governance. And in this policy brief, what are they recommending? They are recommending development of a new treaty to ensure peace, security and prevention of arms race in outer space. We are going for arms race even in outer space. Okay, people are fighting even in space. Okay, even India has its ASAT, that is anti-satellite mission. Satellite. Sorry. Anti-satellite mission under Mission Shakti. Okay, this is India's anti-satellite mission, which means we are going to send a Prithvi missile to destroy satellite. Okay, so that is anti-satellite mission. So that is why it is called arms race even in outer space. So we must have to understand what is outer space, and then what are the recommendations that has been given by this policy brief. Okay, and this comes at the time when we are going to have a meeting or a summit in 2024 September, and that UN summit is for the future. It is called UN Summit for the Future of the Future. Okay, which is scheduled for 2024 September, where New York. What is the aim of this support which is going to happen? It aims to facilitate multilateral solutions and strengthen global governance to address future challenges. In future, we may face multiple challenges. Okay, we have to address it. To address it, we must have multilateral solutions to it, and for that, we will be having a summit in 2024 September. Before that, United Nations has released this, which is again for future developments only. Okay, so that is why we are linking this with this point. What is outer space? Because it is talking about, I mean, the policy brief is about outer space. We have to understand what is outer space. Outer space, also known as space or celestial space, it refers to the vast expanse beyond Earth's atmosphere. Anything beyond Earth's atmosphere is outer space. First thing, it is a vacuum that exists beyond Earth's atmosphere, and it extends indefinitely throughout the universe. Okay, and outer space is characterized by these 2 points are important: extremely low density and extremely low pressure. Okay, extremely low density and extremely low pressure. These are the 2 characteristics of outer space, and it is also characterized by absence of air and other atmospheric elements. Okay, only in atmosphere we have certain elements and gases, but then in space we do not have those things. Okay, so that is called as outer space. Now let us see the highlights of the policy brief that has been given. First thing that they are saying is increasing satellite launches. Yes, there has been exponential increase in satellite launches in the past decade. Okay, both government and private agencies, both of them are launching satellites. See this data, this is important. In 2013 there were 210 launches, and then in 2019 there were 600 launches. See the numbers, 210, 600, 1200 in 2020, and in 2022 it is 2470. Okay, so from 2013 to 2022, nearly 10 years, see the jump that we have made. Okay, 10 times jump, more than 10 times jump. Okay, from 210 launches we have gone for 2470 launches. Okay, and the countries that has been involved, mainly involved in such launches are United States, China, India, Russia and Japan. Okay, leading to the way in space activities, and they are doing missions like manned mission. Even India have our manned mission, that is Gaganyaan, which will be launching it soon. Okay, and we have lunar exploration, okay, like Chandrayaan, and resource exploration in other planets like Mangalyaan and all. Okay, in Mars we are exploring resources. So many other nations are also sending their satellites for such activities, satellites and spacecrafts for such activities. So there is increasing satellite launches. That is a point. It is a matter of concern actually. Next is there is lack of international framework for this. Okay, there is absence of agreed international framework on space resource exploration, exploitation and utilization. Okay, they are going to exploit, explore and utilize space resources, but there is no international framework for this. Okay, and then space debris and environmental concern. What is space debris? For example, say we are sending a satellite that is put into an orbit for a particular function. When the function is over, that means it has expired, the satellite has expired, it is no more working. But even then the satellite will be on the same plane, it will be orbiting on the same orbital plane. Okay, in future if there is going to be any other satellite which is going to come in its path, then there are chances that this will collide with the other one. Okay, so it is like a debris in the space. Okay, that is why it is called as debris. Okay, and environmental concerns. Proliferation of space debris is identified as a significant issue, with thousands of objects posing threats to the operational spacecrafts that is currently running. And then United Nations calls for legal consideration related to jurisdiction, control, liability and responsibility for environmental pollution that has been caused due to space debris. Okay, they are calling for legal consideration, to take legal action. Every country has to come together and take a legal action regarding this particular point. Next, what are the recommendations that they have suggested? New treaty for peace and security, for prevention of arms race. Yes, arms race must be prevented, and to promote responsible space activities. Okay, countries have to be very responsible when they are going for space exploration. Okay, next, space debris removal framework. They are suggesting a framework which is considering both legal and scientific aspects. Okay, both legal and scientific has to be met to frame such frameworks. Okay, an effective framework for sustainable exploration, exploitation and utilization of space resources, particularly on moon and other celestial bodies. Okay, so this is recommended by the policy brief, the new policy brief. And then prior to this we have 5 United Nations treaties on outer space. Okay, we already have treaties on outer space, but then now what is being recommended? For space debris and also for regulation of space activities, we need a separate treaty. That is what they are recommending. But what are the previous treaties that we have? That we will see. We have 5 treaties which is based on outer space. First thing is Outer Space Treaty 1967. It is focusing, Yeah, it is focusing on the activities of the states in exploration and use of outer space, including moon and other celestial bodies. Simple. Next is Rescue Agreement 1968. Okay, all this is important, may be asked in the prelims examination. So Rescue Agreement, what does Rescue Agreement focuses on? It focuses on the rescue and return of astronauts. Okay, when an astronaut is going to space, then for their rescue and for their safe removal, for their safe return, they are having an agreement or treaty called as Rescue Agreement, and the return of objects launched into the outer space. Next is Liability Convention. This is also important. It is on international liability for damage caused by space debris, okay, or space objects. If there is going to be any space object which is going to fall at the place where there is human habitation, then for damage control, the particular agency has to be liable. Okay, so for that they have Liability Convention 1972. Years are also important. The other two treaties are Registration Convention in 1976, Convention on Registration of Objects Launched in Outer Space, and then we also have something called Moon Agreement in the year 1979. Okay, agreement governing the activities of states on moon and other celestial bodies. So we had all these treaties in the past. This point becomes important. Is India a signatory of all these treaties? Yes, India is a signatory of all the 5 treaties, but it has not ratified the last one. This treaty, India has not ratified. So what is the difference between ratification and signing a treaty? Signing a treaty means we are agreeing to the clauses of the treaty. Okay, we are agreeing, okay, such treaty is being signed, yes, we are agreeing to it. But only when it becomes ratified, or we go for ratification only when we approve it. Okay, so after approval and when we go for a separate legislation in our country, then that becomes ratification. Okay, so you must know the difference. So India did not ratify Moon Agreement, but then it has signed the Moon Agreement. Okay, the other 4 agreements India has ratified and signed. Okay, the difference you must have to understand. The last news for today's session is exercise equivalent. Okay, so what is this exercise equivalent? It is a joint military exercise between Indian Army and Maldives National Defence Force. Okay, between the armies of India and Maldives, we have an exercise called joint exercise called exercise equivalent. Recently, it commenced at Chaubatia in Uttarakhand. Okay, and it will be happening from 11th to 24th June 2023. Okay, and it is a bilateral thing exercise, and it is annual exercise. Okay, there are certain exercises which are biennial and there are exercises which are biannual. So you must have to know which is biannual, which is biennial, which is annual. Such specific details you must have to know. So this is an annual exercise alternately conducted in India and Maldives. Each year, each country will be doing it. Okay, and it aims to enhance interoperability in counter-insurgency and counter-terrorism operation, and it also goes for conducting joint humanitarian assistance and disaster relief operations. Okay, all this point is important. So such exercise-based questions are also important. India is doing such military exercises, naval exercises, air force exercises with many other countries, and it has specific names. So such names becomes important from exam point of view. Okay, so what are the other exercises that we have? Just have an idea about other exercises that we have. Joint exercises conducted by Indian Army. These are the exercises, and here Maldives. Yeah, Maldives. Exercise equivalent. Okay, similarly we have other exercises. These names become important. Okay, these are army exercises, joint army exercises. Other than that, we also have naval exercises, joint exercises conducted by Navy, and we have special names. The notable ones here are Varuna with France, and Slinex with Sri Lanka, next Konkan with UK, Malabar with USA. All these are in news very often. Okay, so these exercises are important. So with this, we are coming to end of today's session. I hope you found the session to be useful, and let us meet in the next session. Thank you.